Hey everyone, welcome back to the Distinct Mastering YouTube channel. My name is Freddie. Today we're going to be talking about the Soundtoys Little Plate. It's a cool little reverb unit. It's very fun to use, it's very intuitive, very easy to use, and you can get some really cool sounds out of it. So if you're interested, let's begin. Before we get into the video, I want to just mention, if you like my content, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and that bell notification will keep you up to date. Now let's get right into the Soundtoys Little Plate. Okay, I've got an Ableton session loaded up, just a track that I started working on today, and I was playing around with the little plate on this track, so I decided to make a video for you. The Little Plate is a cool little plugin. I don't use it often. I have a lot of reverbs that I already go to, but trying to explore some new plugins, give you guys some new videos, new concepts, and plugin overviews was one of the requests. So this one is a cheap one that you can get, and sometimes they offer it for free. So if you're looking for a free reverb plugin, you might be able to get that around the holidays. Now let's talk about what the Little Plate is emulating. The Little Plate is emulating an old school EMT 140 plate reverb, which is a huge piece of hardware basically, and it's vibrating a metallic sheet that is creating the reverb, and then they are capturing that reverb. Back then, an EMT plate reverb would weigh over 600 pounds and is not something that was easily movable. So this gives you the convenience of having that classic sound at your fingertips within your DAW. One other thing to note is this plate reverb recreation can go to infinity, while the original plate reverb EMT 140 was about 5 seconds of reverb time. And there is some cool little tricks to this one. There's a little mod switch that I think a lot of people overlook, and it's very simple. Let's get into some of the controls so you can understand what this thing is. Just like all Soundtoys plugins, at the top you have your preset menu and arrows to go back and forth. You've got some presets here for some basics, drums, vocals, extreme, and then your user ones. You can save right here. You can hit the back button to default if you'd like. This is your news and information. You can see the user's guide and then your bypass button. Right here you can see the version you're running and just a little bit of information about Soundtoys. And then there's only 4 controls on this thing. So if you're looking for a simple reverb unit, this can't get much simpler. You've got the decay time, which is the most important knob on this, which controls how much reverb you're allowing. So this is how much decay time in seconds. And then all the way to the right, you see the infinity knob. That is the infinity button I was talking about. And then you have a mix knob. Now, one thing to note about this mix knob, it functions slightly different. It's not, 0 to 100. What happens is it's very faint until about 70%, and then the dry signal starts getting affected around this area. And as you turn it up, then the dry signal will disappear at 100% wet. The reason for this is they are trying to emulate what they would do with the old school plate reverb in the hardware days with the console. You'd have to send out the signal to the reverb, remember this gigantic thing, and then they would bring it back into an auxiliary line on the mixer. And so that is emulating a fader on the mixer, because most faders are logarithmic, just like the ones in your DAW, and it is going to respond better near the top. So that is what they're emulating with this mix knob. And then you have a low cut, which allows you to control how much low end you have in your reverb. Obviously with reverbs, it can get very muddy, and this is a very helpful control, especially with this plate reverb, this EMT 140 recreation. It's a lot more dark than it is bright. So you're going to need to use this to control the reverb and, get a rein on it. And then you have this mod switch, which just applies a little pitch shifting to the reverb. It's really cool. So let's get into what this thing can sound like. One of the most common ways to use a reverb is obviously on drums. And, I've got a send right here that's sending a reverb to, let's solo this. And you can see this clap. And it's just one clap. 2 claps, actually. I'm sorry. These aren't doing anything right now. And then you can see the reverb right here. So it's pretty nice. Let's go a little more. And then go to infinity. Now, if you're wondering how you can use that infinity knob, I just made a video on creating texture and interest, and I'll leave you a link to that so you can go back and check that out. And one of the things that I did is I used Reverb to basically record an infinite amount and then loop that. This can create the same thing. If you just run this as a auxiliary return or a separate track and you automate to it, you can literally be running Reverb through your whole production, and then you can automate the send level or automate the gain of the reverb if you print it, and have a very cool background ambience texture running behind the whole track. Something to keep in mind. Now, because I'm running it on a return track, I want the mix 100% up, but I'll give you an example of where I use it differently. I use it on 3 sounds in this production just to test it out. And one of the most important knobs, as I said, was the low cut, because listen without it. Now, we'll play this in context. Just some track that I created today, just something I'm working on, nothing special, just literally created it. And, you know, if you're feeling it, drop me a comment and maybe I'll finish this one up too. So, that's the little plate on claps and snares. Obviously, you can use this on claps, toms. Another thing that I want to show you is I actually used it on vocals. So I have these vocals here. Let's play this part, loop this. And if you listen without the little plate, it sounds like the vocals need something, but you know, I haven't mixed this. I literally just created this. I haven't done much EQ work. Really only just done volumes, minimal panning. There's nothing going on in this mix yet. And one thing one of the go-tos for me would obviously be to grab more instruments. That's a common thing people do or producers will do. But sometimes you don't even need to grab something new. You just need to work with what you have. And the little plate kind of took care of something that I was looking for. Just adding more space and filling in those voids. Turning it on. And let's listen with it off. And let's play this drop so you can hear what it sounds like. And then with these vocals over here. And then on. So you can see it just kind of filled in some gaps, and now I just have to do less work when it comes to adding more instrumentation, more effects and things that I need to do. I need to tailor this bass. It's not perfect yet. This low end is not right, but putting that vocal in the plate really helped. Another thing that I did was, surprisingly, I'm not super happy with this bass yet. This bass line I like, but the bass sound is not. You know, I actually created this bass line last night at my house, and I don't have the biggest monitors there, so it's hard to work on low end. But when I bring it to my studio, I often find that I need to fix a lot of things in the low end when I'm working at home. However, with this situation, I might try to use this bass, or I might look for a new one. But what I did is I tried to put on a little plate. So here it is without. And then let's turn it on. So I have it all the way down to 0.5. Here it is. It's obviously way too much. Notice the low cut. But just a hint of it. Let's go to a part with just the bass. So this is before. It kind of melts it into the track. Let's bring up the mix a little bit. And you see with it, it's kind of just melts this bass line right into the track, and it's giving it that ambience. Because it's all kind of got that same relative tone, you know, there's no tone controls to this reverb. You can send all your tracks to one, or you can mix and match if you'd like and have different decay times to control things. There's a lot you can do with this little thing. Don't be fooled by how little knobs there are on this unit, because it's all how you use it, not how it looks. And one last thing I want to mention about the little plate, and all Soundtoys plugins have this little gem of a tool, but you can actually hold Control Option and click, and then any knob will lock. And what you can do then is sift through presets so you keep the same settings, which is a nice handy way to, you know, if you're flipping through presets and the decay keeps moving, this is a nice way to keep it really short. And if I wanted to now, I could potentially move some of this stuff. However, with this particular plugin, there's not a lot of knobs to freeze up. So the presets, if you look, if I scroll through, they're not really doing anything because I have everything locked up. So say I just wanted to keep this at 2, lock this, and then flip through these, you're going to see some of the knobs change. And obviously with the other Soundtoys plugins, that can get even handier. But I hope that helps. That's a little, you know, a little Easter egg there for the Soundtoys plugins. That works with all Soundtoys plugins, by the way. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video on the Soundtoys Little Plate. If you did, please do hit that like button below, the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel and stay up to date on future videos, and that bell notification will keep you notified. And once again, my name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering. I help people master their music. If you need help with your mastering, don't hesitate to hit me up. Have a good day.